Welcome to Rima Power, coming to you from the Powerhouse Ministries International, Accra, Ghana. You are about to hear a life-changing message from our senior pastor, Reverend Bernard Arde Acquah. Today's teaching will offer you very practical solutions to life's daily challenges, whilst empowering you from the Word of God to rise above any challenges and difficulties.
They resound with God's own heart. Oh, let the ancient words impart.
He that reapeth receiveth wages, and gathereth fruit unto eternal life. Wow. I carry a burden. 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 16. Quickly. It says, for though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel. It means that when I preach the gospel, I'm not doing anything extraordinary, because necessity is laid upon me. There's a calling upon my life to preach. The calling is not to become a pastor or to become an evangelist or a prophet, but there's a calling to preach. And he says that woe is unto me. The word woe means troubles. It means things will not go well, because God himself will begin to frustrate you. He says, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel. Verse 18, what is my reward then? Verily, that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Christ without charge. Say it with me. I may make the gospel of Christ without charge. How many of you want somebody to finance you before you go and preach the gospel? So that's another major problem. If you don't give me money to go and do outreach, I won't go. If you don't pay me to come and pray, I won't pray. If you don't give me transport money, I won't come. But God gives us, all of us, a warning. He says that we may do the work of the Lord without charge. Without charge. So it means that you will have to make a personal investment into the preaching of your own gospel, because it will cost you. If you are going to do soul winning and labor, anybody who is going to go to work, when you start, you take your own transport money and go, and you come, and you go, and you come, and you go, and you come. You do it without charge to the company. At the end of the month, when you have worked, then they pay you. So you've got to learn how to work for the Lord. The Lord will reward you. You don't wait for the Lord to give you money before you go on outreach, before you go on soul winning, before you go on visitation, before you pray for somebody. And there are many people who are not doing the work because there are excuses. I don't have money to go and visit, and I didn't have money to take transport. And so they don't do the work. I told you, it's called the labor in the Lord. You labor in the Lord. When I started the church and there was nobody there, who gave me money? I've worked in this church for 19 years. I've never collected a salary. Never. When the church started, there were no instruments. Who bought the instruments? When there were no chairs, who bought the chairs? No, I know you have just come. I don't have money to go on outreach. When there was visitation, we're walking on every house and knocking on every door. When we gave up our jobs and we sacrificed our careers to preach the gospel. You know why the Lord has blessed me? You know why I'm blessed and I can live in this land and refuse to travel outside the country? I can live anywhere I want to live in this world by the grace of God. But I choose to stay in a place called Choco, where my salary cannot be guaranteed every month, because I choose to preach the gospel without charge. But you have a mind. If I'm not giving, I won't play. If I'm not giving, I won't sing. If I'm not giving, I won't dance. Why don't you go and follow up? I don't have money. Why won't you visit somebody? I don't have money. And you don't realize that you are not doing the work, because there must be a personal investment into the work. You may not be called as a pastor, but at your level, you also have a level of sacrifice and burden you carry to get people to church. Every one of us. Sometimes you have to give your clothes out. Sometimes you have to pay transport for people. Sometimes you have to give out your shoes and feed somebody to be able to bring the person. You can't say, I don't have money, or the church must give me money to give them food to eat. You've got to learn to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ without charge. When I read the story of the small boy with the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, it's always interesting, because I ask myself, the Bible says that there were 5,000 people there. Are you telling me that all the 5,000 people, nobody had one bread? They were all lying. They were liars following Jesus Christ. 5,000. Where was the boy's father? You think the boy's father would have given the boy loaves and fishes and he himself didn't have loaves? But when Jesus asked, who has loaves? Nobody. It was only the small boy who said, I have. But he took it. And based on that, there's a miracle. And that's how some of you bring your 5 loaves and your 2 fishes, little offering. Sometimes we count the offering and you will cry. But out of the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, we put up a building. Out of the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, we send people to school. Out of the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, we help people. But there are some of you who can give more than 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Yet you never give. Many of us don't believe that there's a reward in heaven. But there is a reward in heaven. Knowing this, that your labor is never in vain. There is a reward. Every sacrifice, every burden, every responsibility you carry, you do it and you do it without charge. Knowing this, that what human beings don't see, God sees. What human beings don't reward, God will reward. Even if I'm not rewarded on this earth, one day God will remember and reward me. Oh yeah. Where is my reward? That when I preach the gospel, I may make it without charge. So let me just end by showing you some of the burdens you have to carry. If you want to go and bring forth fruits, you've got to go, isn't it? In the going, you will have to spend your money. You carry a burden. It's your labor. Everybody who wants to go and bring forth fruit, you will have to learn to wake up early. For example, the first service. I believe that very soon, you are going to explode and you are going to fill the downstairs and you fill the up. How many of you believe that? But it doesn't come because you say yeah. It comes because you labor. There's going to be an effort. There's going to be a burden that you carry. There's going to be a responsibility. What time does first service start? 7:30. What time must you wake up? If you want to be able to go and bring, you tell me and let's see whether you will do the work. I usually am here between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. as the pastor of the church. Why do I carry that burden? Because I must wake up early. So the first thing all of us have to learn to do is to wake up early. Service starts at 7:30 and you wake up at 7:30 and you get to church at 8. No. When you are going to write an exam, when you are going to school, or you are going to have a job and the job starts at 7:30, tell me when you wake up. You wake up early. But there are people who wake up late because they don't have a burden. They don't really intend to add to the service. They don't want to carry a labor and a responsibility and make a sacrifice. And so sometimes there are people who live around. Service starts at 7:30. They'll get here at 9. It's a first sign that they don't believe that the work of the Lord will reward them. They don't. If this church is going to prosper, it will start with the people carrying a burden and making efforts and sacrifices. You wake up early. Why do you wake up early? You wake up early to pray. You want to go and bring. Maybe let's say you stay at Kaneshi and you have a soul who stays at Medina or Adenta. It means that you are not just going to leave Kaneshi and come straight to Choco. You will have to go to Medina before you bring the person to Choco. Go and bring. Step out. Action. Step out. So you cannot wake up at 7 or 6 or 6:45 and expect that you will be able to go and bring. So if you are serious about the labor, you are going to carry a certain weight and a certain responsibility. It starts with waking up early and praying for the sheep. Number 3, you dress well. Number 4, because if you are going to go to somebody's house at Medina, you can't go anyhow because the parents will look for you. They'll look out to say, who is coming for my child this early in the morning? Where are you taking my child? So if you are well dressed, you find out that it's easier for you to break out and break through into the person's family and into the person's home. You go up to the home of the sheep. You will meet the family members. If I come to your father's house and say, good morning, sir. I knock on the door. The father is sizing you up. The family members are sizing you up. They are wondering, who is this guy who has come early in the morning, who is coming for my daughter or my son and is taking him to church? He's not taking him to the beach. He's not taking him to the disco. He's not taking him somewhere bad to take drugs. He's waking up early in the morning. He must be a serious guy. All of a sudden, there's a certain understanding because they see that the guy is serious. Coming to church late is one of the worst things you can end up doing for yourself. Because it shows that you are not interested in the work. And after a while, every job that you get that you go late, they will fire you. I pray that God hasn't sacked you and you don't know. Oh yeah. I pray that God hasn't sacked you and you don't know that he has sacked you. Because you are lazy. You take the work of the Lord in vain. You think that he has no rewards. You come anytime, you sit anyhow, you walk in anyhow. There must be a change. There must be people who carry the burden. There must be people who carry the responsibility. You pay transport. Where are you going? Medina. Where do you live? Kaneshi. Who is going to pay your transport to Medina? Yourself. That I may make the gospel with that. You see why many people are not winning souls? Because they don't want to spend their money. And when you have people like that who don't learn at an early age how to invest in ministry, and they ever become pastors, woe unto the church. Because when they were growing up, they never learned about investment. They never learned about giving. They never learned about sacrificing. And if somebody like that who doesn't learn it also marries, you see, he's going to just do the same thing, because every time transport must be paid for your children to go to school, you run away. So the school in your area is not good. There is a school that he must take transport, but you settle down for what is not good because there's a cost involved. You pay transport. You sit by them during the service. Then you bring them in. So you pay transport to Medina, and then you pay transport for your convert to Choco. Wow. And then you bring them in, and when you bring them in, you sit by them in church. What are you doing? You are working. You are laboring. Knowing this, your labor went into transport. Pastor didn't take it. God didn't see it. It wasn't an offering, but it was transport money that went to bring a soul, and you paid for him to come to church. There were clothes that you gave to him because he didn't have the right attire. So you bought some trousers or some shirt and you donated it to your convert because you wanted him to come. You are doing the work. If you are a Christian and you've never given out your trousers or your shirts or your shoe as a lady to a convert, I doubt how much of the work you've done. Oh yeah. Do you want to win souls? It's going to cost you. Sometimes you have to buy a Bible for your new convert. And that one, nobody will see it. Because you believe that you are doing God's work. So everyone, if you are serious about doing God's work, it's time to sit up. It's time to say that I know that my labor in the Lord is not in vain. I'm bringing people to church. Every time somebody is bringing somebody to church, he's incurred a cost, which nobody thinks about. Every time you see an effective soul winner, I remember I lived in Yaniba. I was coming for souls all the way at Dansoman. And I will take trotro, and sometimes you walk. Sometimes during the week you are saving money because you have an outreach agenda. You have a date to go and meet somebody and bring the person to fellowship. You cannot be self-centered and do the work. God is calling us and telling us, your labor is not in vain. Your labor is not in vain. Your labor has rewards. And he that soweth and he that reapeth, you gather fruit unto eternity.
For I walk in this world